right. Welcome back to the Mortgage Marketing Expert Podcast. I'm your host, Phil Treadwell. I am very excited about our guest today because we talk a lot about personal branding. We talk a lot about digitizing reputation. Well, we have the professional, not a professional. We have the professional. Our guest today is AJ Vaden. She's the CEO and co-founder of Brand Builders Group, one of the world's leading authorities on personal brand strategy. She's also the co-host of the influential Personal Brand Podcast, which was named one of Forbes' top 10 podcasts to listen to in 2021. AJ, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
We're excited because this is one of my favorite topics. This podcast specifically, whenever I was kind of a baby area regional manager, really used this to create brands, to connect with people and do things like that. So I've really been looking forward to this conversation. But I'd love you just to take a second and kind of talk about your background, give us the Reader's Digest version, if you will. I know some of our younger listeners may not have a clue what we're talking about there, but just the overview of kind of your background and, how you and Rory came to found Brand Builders Group and just what that story is.
Oh, how long do we have here?
Yeah.
I will give you the high version of this, but Brand Builders Group is as itself as an organization, as a company, is, I still say, relatively new in terms of the formation of the company itself. We will celebrate our 5-year business anniversary this year in 2023, but we have been in the personal branding reputation space since we've been in the professional world. And so my husband and I, little known fact, my husband's a New York Times bestselling author. That is not the little known fact. He's actually quite known for his writings. But my husband, Rory, this is the little known fact. We're business partners before we fell in love and got married.
Very cool.
Our very first company we started together was an entrepreneurial venture right outside of college. I had graduated in December and decided, I knew so much that I was going to go start this business with some friends. 6 months later, wise, sage, 22-year-old that I was. And we were in the motivational conference business for sales professionals. And so what I did for 5 years, I lived in 14 cities in that 5-year time. Everything I owned fit in my car. And I traveled from market to market to market, calling on real estate offices, mortgage offices, title offices, car dealerships, insurance, financial services, really whoever would talk to me. You could sell pest control or commercial properties. It didn't matter. And I would cold call and I would invite myself in. Sometimes they would say yes. Often they would say no, to come in and do a complimentary 1-hour sales training to their sales team, as long as at the end I could preview this large sales conference, motivational sales conference that was happening in just a few weeks. And that is how I broke my teeth into this business, into this world. So I actually started in this world. And in fact, we were selling tickets to big conferences that we put on. We had no big name speakers, which is the irony of it all, is I'm going to come talk to you for free and then charge you to come see me later. Thinking about it, hindsight 2020, I'm not really sure how we survived at all during that. But we were doing this during the days of we were still having Brian Tracy seminars, Tom Hopkins seminars. Grant Cardone was not the Grant Cardone of today. He was still doing sales trainings at car dealerships. Tony Robbins, his sales team was still traveling around selling tickets like this. And so I was just immersed into this world of public speaking and authorship and reputation and training and development and coaching, quite honestly, 6 months out of college. I didn't know that's what I was getting into, but that's what we got into. And that led to a really awesome, almost 13-year company tenure at our former company, where we built a coaching business. That's where we launched 2 of our, best-selling books. We had a top 100 business podcast. We had launched really awesome speaking careers, consulting. We had an 8-figure coaching business. There was just an amazing amount of blessings that were really undeserved, quite honestly. But we were naively young and didn't really know what a recession was. We started our first business in 2005. And that naivety was a really big blessing, because while a lot of people were panicking, we were just in entrepreneurial startup mode. And that all ended in 2008, came to a pretty dramatic ending with our former partners, where they were going left and we were going right. And that had been obvious for a really long time. But I can only speak for myself, did not have the courage to make some necessary changes in my professional and personal life. So God stepped in and made them for me. And on May 8th May 4th of 2008, I walked into a budget meeting and left unemployed to the company that I founded
Wow.
and had given my whole life to, and had sacrificed pretty much every personal relationship I had ever known for the sake of revenues and profits. And again, was necessary. It was very humbling, but very necessary. And 2 days later, an acquaintance, not a friend, an acquaintance that we had met years before during our first book launch of Take the Stairs, reached out to us. And he had become a really successful podcaster. His name is Lewis Howes. And he said, "Hey, I don't know why, but for months, I have this weird feeling that I'm supposed to call you guys to help me with my business. You guys helped me with my first book launch, and I'm stuck. I'm plateaued. I'm saying yes to everything. I'm feeling super distracted in my business, and I don't know why. But I finally reached out and called. Would you guys be willing to spend some time with me?" And we said, ironically, we have a lot of time on our hands. So we said, "Yeah, sure. If you want to come to Nashville, come on." And I had my oldest, who's now 5.5, was 9 months old at the time. And so he flew out to Nashville. He spent 2 days with us. And at the end of those 2 days, now note, this is 2 days after I was fired. And my husband hadn't even resigned yet. And so he resigned 10 days after that. And Lewis said, "Yo, this is your new business. Brand Builders Group," which did not have a name at the time. "This is what you were meant to do. What you've done for me for free as a friend, as an acquaintance, and what you're doing for me right now, this is what this business needs. This is what this industry needs. It's what people like me need. If you'd be willing to put something together, I'd love to fly you out in 2 weeks and launch your business." And we're like, "We don't have a business, Lewis. This is not our business. This is not what we do." But we prayed about it, thought about it, planned a lot. And in 2 weeks, we had a business plan, and we sold our first 2 clients 1 month after I was fired. And 1 month after that, he said, "Well, that worked so well, and I feel so compelled to help you." And then I think, to me, this is the power of podcasting, really, for all of you who are listening. And he said, "Well, if you can get some sort of landing page together by July, I'd love to help you and have you on the podcast to talk about personal branding and what you do." We were again like, "We don't do this," but okay. So we spent 30 days coming up with a bunch of content, all the things we've learned, do's, don'ts, putting things in processes and frameworks, which I do think is our gift. We're process-oriented, data-driven nerds, quite honestly, through the pretense of personal branding. And we launched Brain Builders Group. And I think this is really also important for everyone listening, because most people don't know this part of the story. But on July 27th, 2008 is when we officially launched Brain Builders Group. And we had an unstylized white landing page with my picture and my husband's picture with an orange button that says, "Request a call here." How trustworthy and reliable and credible that must have been for everyone. But that's all we had time to put together, because we were spending so much time on everything else, being like, we have to have a content and process. And we launched our business that really, quite honestly, barely existed on July 27th on Lewis's podcast. And over the next 3 months, it generated 1,000 leads.
Wow.
And that is how we started this business. And like I said, it's like we actually didn't start it. We didn't. It was gifted to us, regardless of people's faith and opinions. It was gifted to us from God. But we were willing participants who said, clearly there's a need. Clearly we think we can help. So let's put some structure around it, call it a business, and tell people about it.
So the thing I love about this story so much is it clearly illustrates a principle that I think most people, when they have an opportunity and they have a passion around something, that they just need to pull the trigger, and that this concept of ready, fire, aim. You don't have to have everything figured out. Like, this landed in your lap, but you knew your business, you had passion around it, you had people in an environment that was conducive to growth. You didn't overthink it, you just took action. And that is something that I think more people need to realize in their business, regardless of the industry, is sometimes you need to not overthink it. You don't have to have all your ducks in a row. You can have a all white landing page with an orange button, and clients will still click that button if you have enough of a unique value offer and you have passion around what you do.
Yeah. And I would add 2 really, I think, distinctively unique things about this that we actually talk a lot about Brand Builders Group, is although our business was launched quote unquote digitally with a podcast, right? Our business and that relationship with Lewis was built offline.
Right.
And I think so many people today assume, oh, I need a website. Oh, I need a podcast. Oh, I need a huge social media following. I need a funnel. I need a video series. I need a course. I need all these things. And the answer is not really. And I think we're a living testament and living proof of we had spent years building trusted relationships offline before anything success ridden happened online.
Yes.
And I think today people start online thinking somehow trust is built that way. And it's like, no, not really. There are some things that are just tried and true. And I have never used this analogy before. This is the first time I'm ever using this analogy.
You heard it here first, folks.
Here first. I was literally thinking about this, where all good ideas come from, in the shower earlier this week. And this is going to be a staple in my life. I'm just decided. But personal branding is a lot like oral hygiene. Just stick with me for a second. Just stick with me here. It's like if you brush your teeth and don't floss, you'll get away with it for a while. But eventually, something's going to happen in the crevices of your teeth that does not work well, and vice versa. Like you could floss and not brush your teeth, and it would happen even faster. But at some point, there's going to be a breakdown. And I think personal branding is a lot like that. If you think about your teeth and flossing, brushing your teeth and flossing is like having an online presence and an offline reputation. It's like at one point, you need both of them, right? It's like your offline presence can get you trusted relationships with small groups of people. And if all you want to do is be known in your local market, that may work for quite a bit of time. But if you want to grow and expand, at some point, you're going to have to expand out of what you can physically do in a very small local area. Likewise, most people today, though, aren't doing the offline work at all. They think it all happens online. And then they're wondering, why isn't this working? Why aren't leads coming in? Why isn't my following growing? And it's like, well, because you have to do more than just put some social media posts up there and expect for it to work. There's actually some offline work that needs to happen too. And it's like without both of them, there's going to be a breakdown. And it requires both for it to fully work. And we just know, because of so many clients we work with, is the number one thing that people come to us for is, I just need help with content creation. And I'm like, no, you don't. There's so much more you need to worry about before you need to worry about that. Or I need to get my website up. No, you don't. We actually waited almost 6 full months after that podcast launch to actually spend any time on building a website.
Yeah.
We did not need that. I mean, when we launched Brand Builders Group from 2 people who teach personal branding, this is a bit ironic, but we had to turn over our social media accounts in our former departure. So we had no social media. We started over from scratch. We had no podcast. It was also turned over in the separation. We had no website, no email list, no podcast, no subscribers, no social media. And from 2 people that you should be trusting to build your personal brand, that is odd. Right? Yeah. That is odd. The only thing that worked for us is that we had an extremely trusted relationship with a person, in this case, Lewis, who had built an extremely trusted relationship with all of his podcast subscribers over years. And it was that transference of trust that allowed us to do anything. But that all happened offline, even though it felt like instantaneously online. Like that work had been in the process for years, and just trust building through relationship.
So that's so good. Something we say a lot on our team and our clients and on this podcast is effective marketing is the balance of trust and attention. I can light myself on fire and put it on TikTok and probably get a whole lot of views, but that doesn't mean I've created any trust that people want to do business with me. But on the flip side, there's a lot of really trusted mortgage professionals, real estate professionals, business people that are capped in the amount of business they're going to do because people don't know about them. And it's very similar to what you just said. You need to create attention online. That's the best way to reach an infinite amount of people. And for some of the largest companies in the world and some of these crazy algorithms to show the content that you have to the people that want to see it, but people are missing an opportunity to take those relationships offline, create conversations, and create that trust factor, which is really what it is. I mean, you can create an element of trust online. You guys talk a lot about that, but where you really develop relationship is in person and offline.
Amen. It's so true. In fact, we talk a lot about there are 3 ways to build trust today. And, this is offline or online, it doesn't matter. But we believe there's a simple formula to build trust. The first thing is that people have to see you, right? One of my favorite quotes of all time, and there's a lot of truths in life. There's a lot of things that aren't true. This is true. This is just factual. If people don't know about you, they cannot do business with you.
Agreed.
Right? Simple truth. But first step one is they have to see you, right? So where are you? And most people decide where they're going to be based on where they think they should be, or where other people say they should be, or where other people are. And our opinion is, no, you need to be wherever your audience is. So it doesn't really much matter what you like or what you think. Where you need to be thinking about is, who do I want to serve? Who is my ideal avatar? And where do they spend their time, both online and offline? So the first place is, people are going to see you. So where do you need to be seen where you can be in front of your audience? That's step one. Step two is that people have to be able to get to know you. And this is, again, true, doesn't matter online or offline, but people have to be able to get to know you. And I think this is really important, because I think a second trend that we often see with people who come to Brand Builders Group initially is they think that the only thing they should be doing is creating some sort of content that talks about their products, services, and value that is associated with it. And we're like, that's a teeny tiny part of the formula, to be honest. And you can go into pretty much any social media post of all time and see what gets better traction.
Yes.
A content post or a personal post. And you tell me. We all know, right? And it's like, go look at your own posts. It's not going to take a long time to see what, I die sometimes because there's so much time spent on content creation posts. And I'm just speaking for myself here, right? But it's like, I'll post those and I'll get a couple of hundred views, which is great, whatever. I posted a picture or a video of my 3-year-old at his very first T-ball game. It's got 50,000 views, right? It's like a little bit of it is people are drawn to the humanity of all of us, right? And people want to know who you are, not just what you do. And I'm not saying you need to post every hot dog you eat or everywhere you go and what you wear every day, but there does need to be some element of like, who are you? Like, what do you believe, right? It's like, people want to do business with people that they know, like, and trust. And a lot of that know part is being like, oh man, we have something in common here. It's like, you get me, right? It's like, for me, it's if I see another, entrepreneurial working mom, I'm immediately like, oh, we got something in common, right? We know the chaos that's happening behind these computer screens, but there's just an automatic connection that is able to be created when you just reveal a little bit of who you are in the human sense, in addition to what value brings. So first step is people got to see you. Second is I got to get to know you, right? And that means the real you, not this is what I want people to see me. It's like, I could have very easily been tempted to go put on a nicer outfit right now, but quite honestly, this is just what you get with me. Like it or not, that's okay. I got to be okay with that, right? But this is what you get with me. But then the third thing is people have to be able to learn from you. And that's where the value piece comes in. And so they got to see you, right? You got to be present and consistent. They got to get to know you and they want to get to know you. But then they also have to be able to learn from you. And in 2021, we did the first ever national research study on the trends in personal branding. And we went out and we partnered with a third-party firm called the Center for Generational Kinetics out of Austin, Texas, people smarter than us, some PhDs. And they went out and fielded this national research study that was weighted to the US Census around what is personal branding and what are its impacts in the way that we think, act, buy, sell, and communicate today. And a part of this is we wanted to know for ourselves, like, what does and this is specific to the US population have to say about these unique trends in marketing? And I'll tell you one of the most fascinating things that came back to us that inevitably will not just change the course of this conversation probably, but the way that we all do business for forever. And this was a really interesting insight is 5 years ago, here was the expectation in the consumer marketplace. I give you my money. You give me products and services and value. That's how it worked. Simple. That's not how it works today. This is how it works today. You give me value, and then I will decide if it's good enough for me to give you my money. That's unique. That's really different. There is an expectation today because we are in the knowledge economy, right? That is what we're in. You don't have to pay for information anymore. You can pretty much find whatever you want on a podcast, a blog, TikTok, YouTube, or just Google, and you don't have to pay for it anymore. And so there's this new expectation of, do I like you? Do I trust you? And I get to make those decisions before I ever even meet you. And that is unique and different. And people are going, man, you've got great content. It's worth me paying to get more versus there was this gated entry of, no, you give me money first, then I'll give it to you. The expectation today is very opposite. That is a shift in the rise and the trend of personal branding, which is ultimately the exact same thing as a reputation. It's personal branding is not new. It's just new terminology. It is synonymous with the digitization and formalization of your reputation, which we all have. That's not new. It's just how it's being used is very new because of technology.
I love this so much. I want to challenge everybody to go back and listen to everything she just said. When we talk about personal brand, it's about digitizing your reputation. So many people, especially in more established, I'm not going to use the word older because we'll have some people unsubscribe, but more seasoned and established professionals don't like the term personal brand. They think they've got to, do trending dances and trending songs on Instagram and TikTok, when really, when you use the word reputation, their spine stiffen. That's something they understand. And so I've heard you guys say in a ton of podcasts in the past and a lot of your content about digitizing reputation. So I've added that to the conversation for people to understand it. And correct me if I'm wrong, because I've heard you guys talk about this study before. I actually think it may have been Rory on Ed Milet's podcast talking about the higher the requirement for trust, the more important there is a need for a personal brand. Because what you're talking about earlier, people know that there is a professional that has the degrees or has the experience, that has the credentials, but they want to be able to relate to them. And I actually pulled up some notes here. The top four was like 61% of people wanted to see a personal brand from their doctor, 59% from an employer, 58% from an attorney, and 55% from a financial advisor. And I remember on the podcast having to rewind like 4 times so I could write down these notes. But the reason I think that's significant in the context of what you're talking about is that's really synonymous for almost every professional business. Right. Every service provider, every professional business, which is obviously in large part our audience, and most of the time people are wanting to build a brand, that's essentially saying that half to 2/3 of people out there want to see more about who you are, not just what you do. So stop giving us vocabulary lessons on Monday and, your scenarios and reviews on Tuesday, and go show videos of your kids at T-ball. Go show, that you took your family to the lake or whatever. That's what connects people. When you show you and your spouse going on date night at a restaurant, it makes you human, and it makes them want to come to you to get financial advice or to get legal advice or to take your spleen out or whatever it is we're talking about here. Ironically, to your point, that's the type of value people want in addition to just the normal products and services that we're used to.
Oh, absolutely. And I thought this was, out of everything truly that we saw in our study, there are very few things that were like, wait, what? And this statistic is one of them to support what you were just saying. Is when we asked the American population, what's the most important factor when deciding whom to buy from, when deciding whom to work with? And we had, I think there was like 21, 22 different options. And it was anything from, they're featured in the media, they have a best-selling book, they consult on this, they speak on this, they write on this, they have huge social media followings. So it was a long, long list. None of those even made it near to the top. And 67%, so we are talking about 2/3 of Americans said the single most important factor that I pay attention to when deciding whom to work with is whether or not you have testimonials about what you do. And that, in its essence, is the result of one thing. It's, do other people validate who you say you are? And do other people validate that you do what you say you're going to do? And that is a trust factor. It's going, man, I don't know if I can trust you completely yet, but what do other people who give you their time and money say about you? And are they enough like me that I would trust them? And that is so statistically important, because if you think about how much time most of us spend thinking about how we're going to market our business, and then how much money we spend it, how much time, effort, and money is going into collecting testimonials? And here's the craziest part. It's the cheapest, easiest, fastest thing that you can do.
Yeah.
And it's the most important marketing strategy that we have. And most of us aren't doing it. But that's what people are saying is like, I need someone else to help validate that you are who you say you are and you do what you're going to say that you're going to, or you do what you say you're going to do. And that is all about third party trust, third party validation, back to this underlying thing. And man, there are so many people out there making so many promises. I need some third party, right? Since it's here. And it's like for all of us, and this is how I know this is true. It doesn't matter who you are. Like if you had to have heart surgery, right? Here's what I know you're not doing. You're not going to Yelp saying best heart surgeon in Nashville, right? You're not typing it into the Google saying, right, most voted for, most popular heart surgeon. You're not doing that. You're going to someone you trust going, man, I've got a surgery coming up and it's a big one and it's serious. Who do you know? That's what you're doing. You're going to people that you trust and going, help me because I trust you. And as simple as if I need a new hairstylist, I'm also not going to TikTok or Instagram typing in best hairstylist for redheads in Nashville. I'm going to my girlfriend who's got the best hair I know and going, girl, who does your hair? Can you please connect me? That's what we're doing. And somehow we've forgotten that's actually how we do business. Being online is a little bit of a prerequisite today, but doing fun dances and songs is not the prerequisite, right? But you do have to have a digital presence today. That's just the business economy that we're in. But that doesn't mean that's the only thing, right? It's both. It's both. But there's a mix of that. But this testimonial component of all of this and this underlying currency of personal branding is the same as building trust. It's the business component of reputation building. And so we tell people all the time, people always ask, well, do I need to build a personal brand? And it's like, you're asking the wrong question. You already have one. It's just, is it one that you want?
Yes. It's interesting. One of the easiest examples, I've talked about this before, but it's been a long time, is I heard somewhere that movies, right? Obviously, there's a lot of streaming and stuff now post-COVID, but before that, whenever major box office movies would be advertised, the day the movie came out, they almost always stopped all paid advertising. And you have to ask yourself why. And it's because when people start seeing the movie, it does not matter how much advertising money they spent. It only matters with the people that came out and they ask their friends, hey, did you like that movie? If they say no, they weren't going to go see it, no matter how amazing the trailer was. So to your point, this is how we live our life. And then we come in business and expect, oh my gosh, we're going to do this different thing or whatever else. And the other thing that I want to make sure that people caught there, you talked about you've got to have an online presence of some kind, because we do have a lot of professionals that have built big businesses for a long time with little or no online presence. And 5 years ago, if AJ says, you need to use Phil for your mortgage or real estate, whatever, it is, you need to use Phil. He's awesome. Go talk to Phil. AJ's friends just came and talked to Phil. Now what happens is when AJ says that, hey, you need to use Phil. Phil's awesome. They're looking Phil up online. They're Googling him. They're checking out his Instagram. And if there's nothing there, they go, hey, like, AJ, I thought you said like Phil was this rock star. Like, what's going on? Right. So we have to understand that we are in a different world. We are in a different economy. And even if you don't want to put content out at scale, and that may not be for everyone, you still have to have that social proof online. You need to have your testimonials. You need to have those things so that people have something to see. And that study that you guys is probably the favorite study that I'm talking a lot about, because it just reinforces, we know this, but not a lot of people are talking about how important it is in building your business. So I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah. And, one of the other statistics, I'm just full of data points over here today, but 58% of Americans said that not only would they buy from you if you had an established personal brand, but they would spend more money with you if you had a personal brand. And on top of that, what this study also showed is that individuals who have established personal brands were selected over professionals who work at a company. Mm-hmm. And here's the thing that's really distinctively unique about that. And this is both the rise of the personal brand and the deterioration of trust in corporate brands. And those things are kind of happening simultaneously. And a lot of that is just proven in this study. There's an enormous amount of case studies around if you just simply look at online followings, which is Not the only thing that's important here. But if you look at that and you follow the online followings of any corporate brand, and you take those in comparison to some of the largest personal on brand followings, they pale in comparison 10 times. And some of those, it's like Nashville. I live in Nashville. We recently got our very first MLS team, the Nashville Soccer Club. And so Nashville is all of a sudden become this very big soccer town. So we're into it. We got season tickets. I have little peewee soccer players in my house. And this is a really fascinating thing. So I've really gotten into the world of soccer. Well, Cristiano Ronaldo is one of the most well-known and well-loved, for the most part, soccer players in the world. And he's also the number one user of Instagram worldwide. He has more than 550 million followers on a single platform. Okay, this isn't one human being, not a team. This is one person. You take iconic brands that have been around for a century, like Coca-Cola, or huge brands with multi-million dollar marketing campaigns, like a Victoria's Secret, who has just gone under one of the largest corporate rebrands in recent history. And it's like, you're talking about they have 1 million followers, 10 million followers, and one person has 550 million followers. And at the 2020 Euro conference, this became very synonymous with Cristiano Ronaldo. And he was at a press conference that was hosted by Coca-Cola. And he sat down, and his brand, what he is known for in addition to soccer, is his very disciplined commitment to health and fitness. So he is religious about just absolutely no sugar and fitness. And so he sits down at this conference hosted by Coca-Cola, and there was a bottle of Coke sitting in front of him. He simply sits down, takes his hand and pushes it out of the screen, sets down a bottle of water, Dasani, also owned by Coca-Cola, ironically. But in this 60-minute press conference, Coca-Cola's stock share prices went down 1.6%, equating to $4 billion with a B, $4 billion in an hour from one person saying, we don't do Coke. Like this is not personal brands just influencing, who we follow online. These are personal brands who are influencing entire stock markets and economies. Look at Elon Musk and Bitcoin. You can follow his tweet schedule and just watch Bitcoin fluctuate insanely, right? You've got so many things like that are happening that it is a trust factor with an individual, right? And it's like, it's fascinating to see what is happening, and frightening at the same time, fascinating and frightening to see what happens when you find someone like that and this trusted, loyal following, and what happens and how that's now swaying the way that companies are making decisions, right? Another quick soccer example is Leo Messi, right? When he left Barcelona and went to PSG, Paris Saint-Germain, a couple of years ago, he signed at that time the largest signing bonus of all time. And at first you were like, you're giving what, $40 million signing bonus? And what you're doing what, PSG? Like, you're not even a known soccer team, except for in the first 24 hours after Messi landed in Paris, they sold out of jerseys, $100,000 jerseys, over $100 million in sales in 24 hours with a 10% profit margin. You're like, they're going to be fine, right? They're fine. They're going to make this work. And then again, in the world of soccer, which is just like taking over the media for some reason, this whole new thing with, Cristiano Ronaldo leaving his soccer team and going to, right, the first Saudi real soccer. I mean, it's like money that is being, it's just mind-boggling, $15 million a month.
Yeah.
And that is because they know the following he has will bring the fans, will bring the money. So here's the shift that you're seeing with personal brands and corporate brands. Corporate brands now realize the trust lies with the individual.
Right.
And so instead of trying to fight this and spend more money advertising, they're going, how can we just align ourselves with people who already have trusted audiences and go alongside with them? And that is new and a different. And quite honestly, here's the powerful thing. It's no different than you and your own business, right? The more that you become known, the more leads you generate for your business. So you become the lead generator, the content creator, the personal brand is connected to the business because you're the one who's out there attracting these like-minded individuals who go, man, I want what you do, but I want it from someone who does it the way you do it.
That's
And
right.
that is different.
And for everyone listening, if you want that type of power, albeit on a smaller scale, stop branding your company, stop talking about your company, and start talking about you and your business, who you are and what you do. That not only is going to attract and convert more conversations into clients, but you're now going to take power because companies are going to seek you out because of your influence on the market with the people that you have in your circle. And I absolutely love that you've given those examples because that is absolutely the power. I want to be a good steward of your time. I have one last question. I want to just as far as a quick tip, what do you think when it comes to personal branding, digitizing reputation? What do you think is the biggest blind spot that most professionals have today that they really need to take a look at and improve on, especially in this coming year?
This is such a good question because this is actually a really big question that we've actually been playing around with in our own company around, because we believe like there's I'm going to say simple, not easy, but a simple 4-step process to creating and laying the foundation of any personal brand. And it's knowing the answer to these 4 questions, which is what problem do you solve? Right? Who do you solve it for? How do you uniquely solve it? And then how do you make money solving it? Right? So, what problem do you solve? Who do you solve this problem for? How do you uniquely solve the problem? And then how do you make money solving the problem? And as a personal brand strategy firm, a lot of people are like, well, what is the problem that you solve? And I would simultaneously say this is the answer to the question that you have. And the problem that we really solve is distraction. That is the blind spot for most people is they don't realize that by trying to do everything, they are becoming known for nothing.
Yes.
And they think, we all think, I think, right? This happens to me too. Oh man, we need to do a funnel challenge, or oh, we need to do this, or oh, another new platform. We need to do that. And it's like, no, you don't.
That's right.
And the only way that we're really able to say yes, and both as personal brands and as a company, is we are so clear on who we serve. And it's knowing the who that allows us to decide the what and the when and the how. But if you don't know the who, the rest of that is very vague, which makes it really confusing of what to do. So you end up doing a lot of things and typically none of them exceptionally well because most of us dip our toe in trying to figure it all out. And we've just spent time focusing on not the wrong thing, but the right thing at the wrong time.
Right.
And you can do the right things at the wrong time and it will blow up in your face. There is a sequence of things, and that is a really important thing. And I love and admire Simon Sinek and his work. And I would counter that I think he got it wrong. Really, you need to start with who. When you know the who, you can then make quick, easy decisions on the what, the where, and the how. And I'm not saying you don't need a why. I think we all do. But when you look at it through this lens, then the question isn't, oh, do I need to do this, this, and this? The only question you're asking is that where my audience is? Is that what they need from me? And the core, the heart of building a personal brand is ultimately what problem do you solve? Who do you solve it for? How do you uniquely solve it? And only the way that you can. And then how do you make money solving that? Which is for most of us, our existing business model.
So good.
And it really is start with who. And that's where I think most people have a blind spot. They're so focused on the what that everything becomes a distraction.
Yes. Guys, we talk about the marketing formula all the time. The basic 3-step marketing formula that our team uses and that we preach is who is your audience? Who is your target market? Once you've identified that, the second thing is what value do you provide? What problem do you solve? What message are you trying to get that audience? And the third thing is what's the most effective medium to deliver that message, that value, that solution to that audience? And the steps that she just gave you right there are so valuable to you, not only building your business plan and creating the steps in your business that you need. You've just got to write them down. You have to understand what's going on. And I like that. We're gonna go ahead and go buy the domain, or you should go buy it and write the book. Start with who and a parallel Simon Sinek. So AJ, you've been an incredible guest. I thank you so much for your time. If you would take a second, throw out a couple of websites, social media handles. If people want to know more about Brand Builders Group, you and Rory and just your whole team, where can they go?
Yeah, so I will share with you exactly what I would encourage you to share with people. If you want to get to know me, then I would encourage you to follow me on Instagram. My handle is AJ_Vaden. But beware, that is where you go to get to know me. I'm not going to infiltrate you with a whole bunch of content, but you're going to get a little bit of all things AJ Vaden, being an entrepreneur, being a mom of 2 young boys. You're going to hear all types of things and also get infiltrated with lots of Bible verses because that's what that is. But it's important. Like I channel, if you want to get to know me, this is where you go. If you want to learn from me, then check out the Influential Personal Brand podcast. And we put out 2 episodes every week. And it's me and my husband both. We co-host it, we alternate, and it's really fun. And we have awesome guests. Then if you want to learn about Brand Builders Group, you can go to brandbuildersgroup.com.
Love that. We will have all of those in the show notes. Guys, go check out Rory. Go check out AJ. Go check out Brand Builders Group. Go check out the podcast. Guys, I've learned so much from them. AJ, I don't think you guys even know how much I've been able to learn from you guys, from your clients, from the people that you guys put out there. Thank you so much for what you guys do. And for everybody listening, go check out our M1 Academy link, M1 Academy Mindset First. Mindset is the most important thing because that controls our attitude and our actions. And those are the only 2 things that we actually have control over. Check out our premium and elite coaching packages and let me know if you have any questions. AJ, again, thank you so much for being a guest on the podcast. And I look forward again to catching up very soon.
My pleasure.